There are a lot of norms in the US that are utterly unthinkable anywhere else, like having school shootings with your Lunchables, or treating affordable healthcare like it's communism. But I've already covered most of the obvious things that people find shocking about the States a million times, so today I thought I would cover some of the more obscure things that Americans treat as absolutely normal that the rest of the world thinks is insane. I'm Thomas Westbrook, an American with a degree in international studies and political science. I grew up in Azerbaijan and I've spent most of my life traveling the world. And here are my observations. Number 1. Doing your own taxes, despite the government already having most of the information. Your employer has already reported your income to the government. Your bank has reported your interest, and the IRS often knows most of the numbers you are about to painstakingly type back into a form. And yet, millions of Americans are expected to reconstruct the government's own data, calculate what they owe, and risk penalties if they get it wrong, often while paying a private company to help them do it. By contrast, in the UK, income tax is normally deducted automatically from wages and pensions through pay, while self-assessment is mainly for people with things like self-employment or other untaxed income. Sweden sends taxpayers' returns already populated with information it has received. If everything looks correct, you essentially approve it digitally rather than reconstructing the return yourself. Denmark maintains a preliminary tax assessment during the year and then produces an annual tax assessment showing your income, deductions, taxes paid, and whether you owe money or get a refund. You correct it only if necessary. Number 2, tipping 20 to 25% for just about everything. This one genuinely enrages me because tipping culture is essentially big businesses finding a way to shirk their responsibility of paying a living wage to their employees and passing the buck off on the consumers. Just look at how the restaurant industry has lobbied in order to be able to pay less than minimum wage to their employees and make up the difference with tips. So you get service. If you don't leave at least a 20% tip, you're seen as some kind of a monster. And yet the rest of the world actually pays their waitstaff a living wage for the country that they're in. In many countries, you don't even leave a tip unless the service was phenomenal. And it's gotten so ridiculous that because minimum wage hasn't gone up since 2009 at the federal level, then even people who work in coffee shops who are not making minimum wage are still expected to receive tips for a tiny 2-minute service. It has gotten so bad that you now see tip options for online software purchases. Who the fuck am I tipping? The goddamn robots? Number 3. Sales tax appearing at checkout. This one stacks on top of my frustration with tipping culture in America. You go in to buy something in a retail store and you see something advertised as $19.99. Bring it to the register and you discover that $19.99 was apparently more of a suggestion than a price. In countries where VAT or similar consumption taxes are already included on the list price, the American practice feels absurdly unnecessary. The store knows the tax rate, the customer knows the tax exists, but everyone persists in this little ritual where the actual price is only revealed after you've decided to buy it. It just feels slimy and unnecessary. Number 4 is something that actually genuinely shocked me, but before I get to it, every item on this list started as a half thought that I had standing in line somewhere or on a bus in Warsaw or a diner in Austin. I oftentimes have ideas for videos or for projects pop up in my mind, but I've got ADHD, so my best ideas pop up uninvited. They stay for about 8 seconds and then they leave me wishing that I'd written them down. Which is why I started using today's sponsor, the Plod Note Pro. It's a premium recorder about as thick as a credit card that magnets onto the back of your phone. And if your phone doesn't have magnet stuff, it comes with these little attachments, which is pretty neat. Push a button and the 4 mics can pick up a room 16 feet across with 50 hours of recording on a single charge. But recording is the boring part because afterwards the app transcribes everything and writes you real notes. Let's say that you use it to transcribe a business meeting. You can get a full summary, the points that mattered, who agreed to what, and Ask Plod lets you interrogate the whole archive. When I'm 3 interviews deep with scholars and I need to know which one of them I asked a particular question, I can just ask it, jot down a thought, or tap the button to flag a moment while it's happening. And if you're worried about privacy, so am I. Hell, I used to work in IT security. But this thing is SOC 2, GDPR, and HIPAA compliant. I've put a link in the description below, and right now you can get 10% off by using my discount code HOLY at checkout. And there's a 30-day return window, so there really is no excuse to try it out and see if you like it. So go click that link and get your notes sorted like I did. Number 4, school lunch debt. This is something that while I was brainstorming ideas for this video, because I already had a bunch of things that I wanted to touch on, and this one kind of blew my mind because, full disclosure, I'm from the States originally, but I didn't grow up in the States. I grew up overseas as a missionary kid, and so I didn't actually go to schools in America. I'd still had certain things and certain, American rituals that we did and stuff, and like I've said the Pledge of Allegiance as a kid and yada yada. But the notion of having school lunch debt, I genuinely had to Google it to figure out what the hell it was. And according to the description, a school lunch might cost a few dollars. If a kid eats lunch every day, but their account has no money in it, they might accumulate $50, $100, or even several $100s in unpaid meal charges. Like, do we not have free school lunches in the States?
Good guess, but actually no.
Does no one else find this insane that we're basically normalizing debt for kids as young as 6 years old? God, this system is so fucked. So historically, some schools have responded with practices often called lunch shaming. Things like giving indebted students a visibly different meal, taking a hot meal away, restricting certain activities, or repeatedly contacting parents over the balance. Now, policies do vary enormously, and many state districts have moved to prohibit these practices or to provide universal free meals, but still, the fact that this exists in the richest country in the world is just mind-blowing to me. And I'm an American. Number 5. Prescription drug advertising. Americans can be in the middle of watching football and suddenly get a glossy commercial telling them to ask their doctor about a prescription medication, complete with smiling people kayaking while a narrator reads potentially horrifying side effects. Direct-to-consumer advertising of prescription drugs is heavily restricted or prohibited in a lot of countries. So to many foreigners, the idea that pharmaceutical companies market prescription drugs like breakfast cereal is genuinely bizarre. Number 6. Paying thousands of dollars to give birth. Having a baby is one of the most ordinary biological events imaginable, and yet in the United States, it can produce a bill for thousands of dollars even when the parents have health insurance. In many wealthy countries, people go into the hospital, have a baby, receive medically necessary care, and they leave without wondering whether the newborn just bankrupted them. And in some hospitals in the States, you even have to pay to hold your fucking baby. Like, what do you do if you can't afford this? Do you just tell the baby, like, nope, you better just crawl back up in there. You ain't coming out, bitch. Do you just tell the baby to stay put while you go back to work a second shift? Just wild. I don't get it. Number 7, religious billboards. If you drive across parts of the United States, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You will encounter these enormous roadside signs warning you that hell is real and demanding that you repent, or informing you that Jesus is watching, wedged between advertisements for injury lawyers and fast food. What makes it especially strange from an international perspective is how normalized overt religious messaging is. Does nobody else find overt religious messaging like this in public, in commercial spaces, odd? Like, you could be driving to Walmart and suddenly you encounter what is essentially a 40-foot giant theatrical threat. Whatever happened to religion being like a personal thing that you keep private? You see these numbers that'll say like, call 555 for truth, or whatever the number is. And I've always been curious and like wanted to call that number. I heard one person say that it's all just one guy. It's the same guy. Like, I wonder if he's ever actually gotten a call. We should call him up and he's just blow his mind that someone actually took the time to call the number. Anyways, those are 7 things that the rest of the world finds absolutely bizarre that are somehow normal in the US. It's not to say that other countries don't have insane or bizarre or weird traditions too. These are just ones that I kind of chuckle at, and some that I genuinely think are problems that we need to improve. And it's kind of shameful that we haven't, that our healthcare system is so broken, that poverty is so rampant in the richest country on earth, that income inequality is so high, and that we haven't fixed these very basic things. But yeah, it's by traveling and by exploring and learning about the rest of the world that we're able to see what works and what doesn't, and hopefully be able to improve our own situation. If you guys appreciate this video, smash that like button, share it with someone who you think will enjoy it, and as always, dare to be curious, but don't drink the Kool-Aid.